What if you could create a high-value professional newsletter without you actually having to write a single word? In this video, I'm going to show you how to use AI and automation to create newsletters that look like this automatically without you having to do a single thing. And we're going to build this out completely from scratch. Make sure you stick around because by the end of this video, you will have a fully automated system that sends value-packed newsletters to your leads every single day. Keep in mind, this entire workflow includes 2 automations that I'm going to show you how to build from scratch, along with an entire set of system prompts for custom large language models that we are going to create as part of this workflow. And I'm going to be sharing all of that with you in the resource hub that I have the link to down below. The resource hub contains all of the AI agents that I create on this channel, and it is completely free to sign up and to get access to these workflows and those system prompts. So without further ado, let me explain exactly how this works, and then we'll start from scratch and we can build it together. So this newsletter starts by retrieving live news events on a particular topic that you want your leads to know. So these newsletters are created based on live news events that are happening on topics that you want to touch on. And so we have this tool called RSS.app. And so this essentially pulls in custom RSS feeds that we create that are topics that we want to cover and we want to highlight for our leads for our newsletter. And so in this case, I've plugged in this particular RSS feed, which is real estate from the New York Times. And so the New York Times has a particular real estate page where they are aggregating all of their real estate articles into a particular page. And so all we're doing is we're taking this tool. RSS app is completely free to sign up. And if you go ahead and get started, I'll just type in RSS.app to show you what this looks like. You can hit get started now, and then you can go ahead and start creating your own custom feed. On the free plan, you're able to use native feeds. If you want to pay a little bit, I think it's about $10 a month, you get custom feeds. Custom feeds are really nice because you're able to search for a particular topic. Let's say I want to talk about artificial intelligence. See, I'm only on the free plan, but what this would do, this would aggregate all of the topics on AI, and it would bring it to one particular RSS page that I can then access through an XML feed. So what this RSS feed does is it aggregates information of a particular topic or a particular URL, and it brings it into one page, allowing you to then grab the most relevant information for you so that we can then throw it into our automation and then do things with that article and create our own newsletters on our behalf. And so you can make custom feeds. I'm actually on the free plan just for this demo, and I'm showing you on the New York Times, you're able to grab this custom feed, which is just all about real estate from the New York Times. So any article related to real estate that the New York Times publishes will go directly to this RSS feed, and it's updated obviously in real time. And so we are going to be pulling in these RSS articles every so often. We could be doing this daily, weekly, multiple times a day, depending on how frequently you want to be creating newsletters. We can aggregate all of these news sources. You can also create custom RSS feeds. Like I mentioned, you could create it by topic. That would require being on the paid plan. And so if I click this, I'm not going to be able to do that here. But if you did want to have articles on a very specific topic, let's say for your local market, and you wanted your articles to be hyper specific, then you can go ahead and do that. And it'll work the exact same way. But for this demo, I'm just going to do it with the free plan to show you how you can get started today. And so that's just by copying this RSS feed and then pasting it here. And I already have it pasted here. Then this workflow is going to take the content of that article. It's going to grab the URL, and it's basically going to scrape the entire web page of that article. And that's going to return back all of this HTML code. That HTML code is not all necessary. We just need to grab the text from that HTML code. And so we have this module called Text Parser, which converts that HTML into readable text. Then the readable text is going to be passed into ChatGPT, into a custom LLM agent that we use a tool called Platform.OpenAI. So I'm sure you've used ChatGPT. If you want to use ChatGPT with this make.com in a workflow, you'd have to use an API call. And so this is platform.openai.com. And these are all of the assistants that we are going to be creating today. And I'm going to walk you through how to create these. Basically, each one of those assistants are instructed to do specific tasks for us. In this case, this one-liner agent, the goal of it is just to create an engaging summary with a max of 50 characters based on the information of the article. And it's going to generate a summary for us here. And so we're gonna allow it to create the one-liner, and then the overview agent is also gonna create a more detailed overview of that news article. And then it's gonna send it into an Airtable that we set up, and it's going to throw it in this table as needs review, in the needs review table. And so this is the original article. We can go to it now just to show you what it looks like. Home buyers and home sellers accuse realtors of blocking lower fees. This is the one-liner, this is the summary. And then we can go ahead and click approve or deny. If we want to generate a newsletter based off of this article, we can go ahead and click approve, and that's going to trigger our next workflow, which looks for records that have made any changes on this table. So anytime a record changes on this table, you'll notice it'll mark that time, and then it will find the records that were approved. If the status is approval, then it will go ahead and do all of these other things. It's going to create bullet points on the article with a bullet point agent that we have. It's going to create a key takeaway for the article. So like, what is the reader needing to pull away from this information? What's important for them? It's going to create a TLDR, which is like another version of a summary. It's going to create the title for our newsletter, and it's going to create a MidJourney prompt. And then it's going to pass all of that into a well-documented new Google Doc in a folder that we specify. And so in our case, it created a document that looked like this, except this MidJourney prompt was in a text format. And so what I had done before this video started, I just copied the MidJourney prompt in here, and it gave me all of these options. Unfortunately, MidJourney does not have direct API connection to make.com. And so the only step you'd have to do here is you take the text that this returns, copy it, paste it into MidJourney's create feature, and then you can go ahead and create thumbnails that look like this. I think these images look pretty amazing for your newsletter, or if you want to make this into a blog, you can also do that as well. But these look really, really professional. And like I mentioned, all of the instructions for how to get the exact output that you want to create something high quality like this is already included in the workflows. And so to use these workflows, all you have to do is click import blueprint, JSON, choose file, and import the files that are downloaded in the resource hub. So if you go ahead, click the link to the resource hub, sign up for it, it's completely free, and then you can access these files. You can just click import, and then you're gonna get all of this just to show up on your end. You can see both of these workflows show up immediately, and then you also get this Google Doc, which has all of the system prompts that are used to train this AI agent. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start this completely from scratch. I'm gonna explain every step, and we're gonna build it together. All right, so to start, we are going to first need our trigger, which is just going to be to grab the RSS articles, and we can set a specific interval for this. We can just click retrieve RSS feed items, and we are going to want to go ahead, and if you're not familiar with RSS, feel free to go ahead and create a new account. And then once you create that account, you're going to be able to put in any specific topic or keyword. Like I mentioned, you can just type AI news and it can generate a different RSS feed for you. If you create a new account, there is a trial for 7 or 14 days. So it will allow you to do the custom, create custom feeds, which are a lot better. And so I would recommend going ahead and starting with that. If you do want to stick to the free plan, you can just go to New York Times Real Estate, that particular page, and then copy that URL. So if I go ahead and copy the real estate page in the New York Times, oh, it seems I've hit my plan limit. I already have 2 feeds. But that's essentially just gonna pull this exact same feed right here. And then you just need this XML URL. You just copy this, and then you can go ahead and paste that in our new scenario. We can just, for testing, we can just keep it to return 1 item. What this means is it's going to take the top item from our feed and then retrieve that top item. So we can have this set to 10, we can have it set to 5. And like I mentioned, this is the scheduling option. So whenever you create a make workflow, it will have a trigger. And so this trigger you can have this workflow run at particular intervals. And so in our case, we could have it run once a day. You could have it run every day at a particular time. So you could have a specific schedule going on for this. We're just gonna leave this for now. But just to show you, you can set this up to run asynchronously, as you should. If you are creating these automations, you do want to have them run on autopilot so that you can actually have this work be more effective for you. And then once it creates a RSS feed, it pulls in the top article for New York Times Real Estate. Then what are we going to want? We are going to want to scrape that particular article. Oh, sorry, HTML. Sorry, what am I saying? HTTP request. That's what we want. We want to make a request. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the URL of that retrieved item. And that's it. Everything else is good to go. And then we can just run this to confirm that this works. There you go. All right, let's see. So this returned the output. So the output always comes here in data. As you can see, this is the HTML of that New York Times article. And there's a lot of gibberish here that we don't really care about. We care about the text. And so that's why the next step is text parser, which converts the HTML to formatted text. We take the data from that HTML, convert it into text, and then that's fine. It says we shouldn't have this last. That is okay. We are going to run it anyway, and boom, now we have output that is at least readable. Now, all of this is still not as relevant, but that is okay for us. Like, we don't need these ads. ChatGPT, like OpenAI, will know what's important for the article and what's not. So it'll be able to tell the contents of the article. Then we're going to want to start using ChatGPT to summarize the article. So the first way that we're going to do this is we're going to create a one-liner for the article. So let's go ahead and create that one-liner. We're going to use an OpenAI module, message an assistant, and we're going to create this assistant right now. I have so many connections. So you're going to want to connect your OpenAI account if you have not already, and that's just going to include pasting your API key, and then you can name this just to remember what this connection was. And so when you go to platform.openai.com, you want to go into a particular project, and then you want to go straight to assistants. When you go to assistants, then you can go here and click create assistant. So we're going to click create assistant, and then we're going to call this one-liner agent. I'm just going to put demo on this one. And then you can come over here using what we have, the system prompt. You can say, okay, this is all for the one-liner agent. Let's copy that. Let's paste it here. And that's it. You can have it use 4.0. That works perfect. You can leave the temperature and everything the way that it is. And then you're pretty much good to go. You can hit run if you'd like, but that will automatically save for you. And then once you have your OpenAI connection, then you can just go here to assistant and you can select the assistant that you just created. So you want to make sure you name it in such a way that it's easy for you to remember. Let's grab our assistant. Perfect. Okay, so I just created this agent, as you can see. Click that. And then we want to message our assistant. And we are just going to pass in the text. The reason being, this one-liner agent has already been created with the instructions in mind. It knows what input you're going to pass it and how it should respond. That's what the system prompt is here to do. So you don't have to worry about anything else. All you have to do is pass in the input and then you're good to go. And what I would do, just to make this easy on you, because we're going to create like 4 or 5 of these modules, I'm just going to call this one-liner agent so that we remember. Because then we're going to need to create another assistant using OpenAI. And this one is going to be our overview agent, is going to give us the longest body of text. And this is a prompt for the overview agent. So it's going to pre-process the article. It's going to analyze the article, write us a summary of the article, give us context and background, give us key developments and insights, give us the impact and significance. And then these are more instructions for the output. And all of this, we're just going to click copy, and then we're going to go here. We're going to go create a new assistant, overview agent. I'm going to put demo because I've already done all this. And then boom, system ready to go. System instructions good. And then we can just go ahead. I probably have to reload this. You can just click this button whenever you don't see the item that you just added, and it will go ahead and retrieve it in real time, just like refreshing a page. Boom, overview agent. And then we want to message our assistant. Cool. And then same thing, we are just going to pass in the text of the article, and then we're going to be good there. Let me just make sure to rename this. Always best practice to do so. And then we want to use Airtable to create a new record. So as I showed earlier briefly, we're going to have 2 tables, and we're going to start by creating this table now. And so I can show you how to build this in Airtable. Airtable is also a free software. You can also use Airtable up to, I think, 1,000 records, 5 bases. So for this project, you can use it in the free version. It's basically like Excel or Google Sheets on steroids. It's just a lot more organized. And I just like the interface. Make.com has a lot of operations that it includes to make it really easy to use when you're creating automations like this. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to create a new table from scratch, and we're going to type in needs review demo. Now, quick explanation. The purpose of this is once we have an article and we've done the one-liner, we've done the overview, we want to show it to the user, to the person who's creating this newsletter, to see, do they want to create this as a newsletter or not? If it's an article that's not relevant, they'll hit deny and nothing will happen. If they click approve, that itself is going to be the trigger for our next workflow to actually create the newsletter. So we just want to set up our table for needs review that gives the user who's seeing this dashboard all of the key info in the article that they can then look at and decide, do I want to make this article or do I not want to make this article? They can click approve or deny, and then that next workflow to actually create the article will continue. Anyway, now let's go ahead, edit this field. We want this to start off with the URL of the article. And again, you can make these fields different. If you want to add different data from this workflow and pass it into this Airtable, you can set this up differently. Next, we're going to add this field called one-liner, which we just created with our assistant. We're going to include single line text. Actually, we're going to make it long text, and then we're going to enable rich text formatting just to make it look a little bit cleaner when it comes out. Next, we can put in our overview that's returned from the overview agent. And again, this is going to be a long text. And again, we enable rich text formatting. Now with status, this is the important one where we want to show deny or approval. And then our default option is just going to be empty. We're going to make sure to leave that empty. And then there we go. Status is set up. And then the last thing is we're going to have these two fields that Airtable has built in for us, which is nice. We're just going to name the created time. Oh, not created by, sorry. It's going to be the created time field. So the created time field automatically inputs the exact time that this was created in. We're going to have that. And then we're going to have last modified time. So that is a preset field. I'll just name it as such. Boom. So whenever we modify it, we can just see, this is really helpful when you're messing around with this dashboard and you forget when you last looked at this. You just want to make sure you have these dates. That's always nice to include. Now we have this table set up. Great. So we're going to go over here with this workflow and we're going to go to my Airtable database. Again, similar connection setup. You just want to click add and you can either do OAuth authentication or you could just have an API key. Either way you want to connect to your Airtable, feel free to do that. If you have questions about how to do any of these connections, feel free to just leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to respond to your comment so that I can help you get all these things set up. And so we are using our AI automation newsletter base. That's what I had named this. And then the table I just created was needs review -demo. And we are going to pass in all of the key goods that we have created and gotten from RSS. So our one-liner agent is going to take the result of that output, overview, status, we're going to leave blank. And then the other fields, we don't even need inputs for. That is going to be saved. Cool. And that's it for this workflow. So let's just run this once and make sure this works properly. So let's see our AI agent or our custom large language model do the work. Create that one-liner, create the overview. And in just a second, once this finishes, I'll show you if this worked. Cool. Okay, it looks like it worked. And there we go. It did work. One-liner, we can make this a little easier to read. Realtors resist lower fees, sellers strive for change. And this is the whole summary of the article. There we go. All right. So we can then hit approve or deny, and then it'll go ahead. Once we build out the next workflow, it will go ahead and create that newsletter for us. So let's go ahead and name this. I'll just name this 1 out of 2. And then we are going to I'm going to open up in a new tab, a brand new scenario. Okay, and as mentioned, this scenario is going to be triggered whenever we change the status of this, right? And so the user is going to come in and see, oh, these are the articles that are relevant, right, for the topics that we want based on RSS, and then we can deny or approve it. So let's go ahead, and there's this function called watch records. And so we can watch all of the records that we want. And we're going to go to the base that we have. We're going to go to the table that we just created. And then we are going to have the trigger field be last modified time, the label field be status, and then we're just going to limit it to 10 records to return. In this case, for this video, we're just going to have 1. So 10 is more than enough. And save, we can just save that the way that it is. Now, we need to make sure that, so this is going to run anytime we modify the status of this particular record, right? So if we modify this, make any to it, that workflow is going to be triggered. But we only want this workflow to actually run with the steps we're going to include if the article was approved. So we want to grab the status. Sorry, we want to add a filter. I guess I'm going to place something there. I think I need to have something there before I can set up a filter. So let me just set up a filter here. And what this is going to entail is that the status is going to be equal to approval. That's what I named it, approval. So I'm going to change this to contains case insensitive. So this is a text operator, and it will just confirm if the status contains the word approval in the way that I wrote it here, then it will pass through this filter, which is exactly what we want. If I deny it, then it's not going to pass through that filter. Great. Okay, so then let us just set this up, and then we can run a test to make sure that it works before we build out the entire workflow. And so our next step, once we want to create this newsletter, once a user said, okay, this looks great, I approve, then we're going to want to create a bullet point assistant. A bullet point assistant is going to be the next thing that we create here. And let me go do that now. Oh, bullet point agent demo. And then we're going to go here, bullet point agent. Here we go. And so this bullet point agent is a little bit unique. It's actually going to return back the value in HTML. Oh, sorry. We're going to go here in our system prompt, and we are instructing it to paste its output in HTML so that it'll look nice and pretty when we finish and return it this way. As you can see, the bullet points. That is because it is in HTML. So let us go ahead and grab that assistant that we just created. Amazing. All right, bullet point agent. And then we have our message. And so our message is just going to be the summary of the agent. Oh, and I see we have not actually run this, so it's not going to get anything. Let's just have this run once so that we can actually see a record being grabbed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the status to approved so that it will run and it will pass the filter. And so we're going to hit run. It is approved. It has passed the filter. And now this is going to create. In actuality, it's not going to do anything because the input I put there was just the word blank. So it really didn't do much. Oh, there you go. Okay, it gave us something. What we are going to want is the actual message. And that message is going to be the summary of the agent. Now we can actually see if this works. And we're just going to rename this to bullet point agent. And then we can just modify this again. Deny, approve. Cool. So every time we make a change, then it's going to pull it back again. And so let's see this run. Now it's actually getting the overview from this table. It's pulling in this information and it's using that to create 4 short bullet points. Let's see what the output is. Sellers and buyers express ongoing dissatisfaction with high real estate commissions. Mike Chambers' attempt to sell independently due to high fees. Boom, boom. Okay, amazing. See, as you can see, this returns exactly what we want. This is HTML code, which will make it look nice, as I mentioned over here. So let's just continue with the other steps of creating this newsletter. We're going to want to create a couple more assistants. Key takeaway assistant is going to be next, where we have our assistant that is prompted in such a way that it gets the key takeaways from the summary and from the bullet points. So let us go ahead, grab our system prompt. One thing to mention here on these system prompts while I'm doing all of this is that every single prompt, if you download this and you'll see, we have laid this out in such a way that it gives good examples of what a good output is. And so it very clearly specifies what is the input, what is the output. And that's just important to know when you're prompting. You want to make sure that you tell the AI what a good job looks like. And so we literally say what good output is. It makes the large language model much more likely to give you the output that you need. Oh, not here, sorry, we're gonna go here. Into platform.openai, create this new assistant with our system prompt, and then we are good to go. Now we can just go over here, reload, grab our new assistant. Sick. All right, cool. Our key takeaway agent is there and it is ready to go. We are going to pass in our summary in this case, which is our overview from the past workflow. And then we're also going to pass in the result of this bullet point agent, just so that this AI agent gets a lot more context on what is most important. So the bullet points are a really good summary. So we're going to pass that in. Then we're going to name this key takeaway agent. Amazing. Let's just hit save. Next, we want to create our TLDR agent. Again, not all of these agents are completely necessary for your use case. So take whatever you would like to include in your newsletter and take the exact steps that I'm showing you here, download the workflows, download the prompts, and that'll get you 95% of the way there. You can just copy and paste this entire setup and you can modify it a little bit if you'd like to make it a little bit different. But let us just go ahead and continue. We are almost there with this newsletter creation. So we have this TLDR agent. We're going to paste it in here into the system instruction, and then that is good to go. Now we're just going to reload to find our new assistant that we just created. Now our message to the TLDR agent is also going to be overview and bullet point, and then we are good on that. we're just going to rename. Now, the next agent that we want is to create a title for our newsletter. And we are going to use a title agent. Let me just rename this demo, and then we're going to create a title agent. And we have our prompts for the title agent. And again, we have examples of good titles, examples of bad titles. And so we tell it exactly what we want. And so feel free to change these prompts if you want something a little bit different for your newsletter. And then we're just going to grab that new agent. One other thing to note is that when you're creating these custom large language models, you can also add files. This is really crucial, and I hope you're already doing this, but when you add files to this large language model, the files you want to add are documents that are key SOPs for your business, that explain your business, what it does, that explain who your ideal customer, client, avatar is, and explains a little bit more about who that person is that you're trying to target in your marketing, so that the AI will just respond that much better because, again, you've given it more context. And so this is a great place to do that if you do want to give it even more context than what this system prompt is sharing. And I highly recommend you do that, especially if your business has a hyper-targeted avatar and you'd want to speak more directly to that person in your marketing. You'd want to make sure you include some sort of a doc that outlines who that person is so that these AI assistants can respond a lot better. Anyway, that's my little rant. And then we will go to title agent, create our message here. Again, it's just going to take in the overview. Yeah, so this title agent, again, is just going to take in the overview, and then it's going to take in the bullet points. Save that, rename it to title agent, because otherwise we would not remember what each one of these steps do. And the last one we're going to have is our MidJourney prompt agent. Our MidJourney prompt agent does exactly that. It creates the prompt so that we could then copy and paste it and bring it over to MidJourney to create the image for our newsletter. And so we're going to create MidJourney agent demo. Boom. All right. This is the prompt. You'll receive text data, use the information extracted to fill in the following MidJourney prompt template. So subject action setting additional details. And then it includes these instructions every single time. Again, you can change these instructions and yeah, it tends to give us really, really good output. Awesome. So let's do that. Let us save and add the new assistant that we just created. Perfect. MidJourney agent demo. Now we're just going to pass in, again, we are just going to pass in the summary and the bullet point, the result of the bullet point agent. Cool. So then we are all good in terms of having our AI create all of these parts of the newsletter for us. That is all set. So we've literally created all of these parts. We created the title, the prompt, the bullet points, the TLDR, the key takeaway. What we want to do next is we want to create a Google Doc and put all of these things together in a very nicely formatted newsletter. And so the way that we do that is we add a Google Doc module, and then we create a document. And so you can connect your, same thing, you can connect your Google account, you can sign in with Google, and it has some OAuth connection. Basically, you just hit sign in, and then it's connected to your Google account. So that's what I've done here. And then you can make it the name of the document, and you'd want to ensure you put the document location. And so in my case, I'm going into this folder I have called YouTube Demos, and I'm just going to create the document in there. And so for the name, you can name it whatever you'd like, but what I'm going to do is have newsletter and then the title, the result of the title agent. So it's just going to be the title agent, and then this content I'm going to paste in from my previous workflow. So this is the HTML that allows this to be very nicely formatted. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just replace these with the correct output from the agent. So this is where our title goes. This is where our MidJourney prompt goes. The result of our MidJourney agent. This is the result. Oh, this is our bullet points. This is our TLDR, which we're going to include there. And then this is our key takeaways, which we're going to include there. And this will give us the exact output we want. So all this HTML has specified how to make the output look all nice. And so we are going to run that. But before we do, I just want to add one last step to make sure that this is complete. The last step we want to do is we want to first create a new table in Airtable of all of the created newsletters that we've made. And so we're just going to have a table saying created newsletters, and I'm going to put demo. And then this is just going to have a couple fields where it's going to have newsletter URL. And so when we create our URL, it's going to be created in a brand new Google Doc, and we want to return the URL of that Google Doc so that we can just click in it and see those results really, really easily. And then we can just have a title of the article, which is going to be single line text, and save. And then we just want to show when exactly this was created. So created time, and we can hit save. There's no need for a status here, so we'll just delete that field. And then this table is set, ready to go. Now we are just going to create a new record in that table. Every single time this workflow is run, at the end of it, once the newsletter is created, we just want to have a table that shows which newsletters are created. So that's what we're doing now. Created newsletters demo, and then we're going to have the newsletter URL be, it's just going to be this web view link, which is going to be the output from this module right here. So that's going to be how you can view the newsletter. And then the title is just going to be the result of our title agent. That's going to be the title for us. And that is it. So we are going to have this run, and then we're going to see how this looks. So let me just use the same article, and then we're just going to make that quick change to approve, so that once we turn this on, it will look for which records were just approved, and then it will go ahead and create this newsletter for us. All right, so as you can see, it's created the bullet points, it's created the key takeaways, it's creating the TLDR, then it's going to create the title, the MidJourney prompt. It'll be done in just a second, and then we'll go ahead and look at what that MidJourney prompt looks like and what the image is going to look like as well. We're going to see created newsletter. Let's check it out. All right, home sellers frustrated by high commission fees. And this is the MidJourney prompt. This is the bullet points. This is the TLDR. This is the key takeaway. And so as you can see, you can modify this as much as you'd like, but we are going to go ahead and copy this as our MidJourney prompt, and then we're going to see what we get. And so MidJourney is another tool that's commonly used for AI image generation. You can also use DALL-E, which is OpenAI's tool. By calling ChatGPT, you could just paste this in ChatGPT as well. MidJourney is one of the ones that tends to do a little bit better. There's also Flux One, which is another tool you can use. But for our case, we will just use MidJourney. Cool. So as a frustrated home seller holding a for sale by owner sign, I actually really like all of these images. They look really, really good. So you could just pick whichever one you like. You can hit copy and then paste, and then you could paste it right here in replacement of the prompt. And then there you go. And so now you have all of the components of the newsletter that you can just copy and paste and then bring into your newsletter. So if you wanted, you could even go to Gmail and actually send out the email and format this email in such a way that it looks the way that you want. And then it can automatically send out these emails for you on a daily basis. You can connect this to whatever email sending software. If you're using something like MailChimp or any others, you can connect MailChimp here as well. I'll show you MailChimp, which has connection here as well to make.com. And so the possibilities of this are truly endless in terms of what you want to do with the output that you get. It's also endless possibilities in terms of where you want to get your sources from. So we're using RSS articles. You could even have some sort of a form that you type in an idea, and then it generates the whole newsletter for you based on that idea. You could have like a voice agent where you just talk to the voice agent, and then it generates this whole idea for you, this whole newsletter for you. You could also convert this into Instagram posts, Facebook posts, tweets, blogs, scripts for YouTube videos, etc. Content creation is truly endless with AI and automation. So feel free to check out the other videos on my channel where I do show exactly how to use this for other purposes for content creation. But hopefully you were able to follow along and build out this agent for you so that you now have automated newsletters that look like this, and you can have this run every single day. And so what I recommend is you just change this to at regular intervals, and you could change it to every single day, and you could just have it run at the same time every day. And then that's pretty much it. So that's all for this video. Again, if you guys want these workflows and the prompts that go with it, feel free to click the link below to check out the resource hub. And if you'd like to have our team build out something like this for you, or something similar, if this sparked an idea that you would like to have built out for your business, feel free to check out the call link below. You can book a call with us, and we can talk about how we can use AI to help you scale your business. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.